Now let's learn some surfacing commands. These are the three tool palettes which are widely used in shape design. So let's start with wireframe, and then we are going to do the commands for operations, and then we will look at commands from surfaces palette. So first command is point, and you can see this small drop down. Here are three more commands, but those commands are not like very much used, like rarely used commands. So we will just stick to the commands which are used again and again. And once we get a good practice with the basic commands, automatically when we need, we will start using the advanced options which are here. So the basic one is point. This is a small window which appears that will help us define a point. So first one is coordinate. So it is very simple. We give some coordinate, and it is going to create a point for us. Okay, this point is created. Next, let's see more options. Apart from coordinate, we have curve. So let's first create a curve. We go to sketch, and in sketch we will create a simple profile, and we pad it. Okay, now we have a point, we have a curve, and we have this surface with us. So next in point definition, it is on curve. So first we need to select the curve. This is the curve, and by default it is giving us this option, distance on curve, and here you can give some distance, say 50, and here it is creating our point. So this is the direction. This means that here is the zero and here is the extreme limit of this curve. So we can increase and decrease the dimension from here. So remember, these dimensions are along the curve, along this curve. So suppose if we want some dimension along a direction, we can choose this option, and we provide a direction, say we provide y direction, and then we can give some value, say 10. So now it is like a direct offset. It is not taking dimension from the curve, it is taking a dimension from this plane. So you can uh, move this point anywhere you want, but it is going to stay on this curve. So this is point on curve. Next we have another option which is ratio. So in ratio we can give like any value from 0 to 1. So 1 means the full length, and 0 means at the beginning of the curve here, and we can say like 0.25. This is like the 25% of the whole curve. Then we have 0.75, that is 75% of the whole curve, or we can say zero point 0.5, that is at the center. And yes, we can play with these values here. Next we have is middle point. So if we click on this, it will the point will directly go to the center of this curve. I really don't know what are these values because I never use them. And yeah, we can click OK. So that is point on curve. Next is on plane. So these coordinate system that you see, these are basically planes only. So we can select a plane, and anywhere I can, leave this point, or I can also give some values to it the way we want. It is just like a coordinate system, but it is restricted to one plane. Okay, so we have a point here. Next we have on surface. So this is the surface we have, and we can select this surface. So by default it will choose the center of the surface as 0, and we can give this point anywhere wherever we want on this surface. Okay, next we have is circle, sphere or ellipse. So to work with this command, let's first create a sphere, or let's create a cylinder. So we need a point and direction. So let's take this point and we will give a direction to it. So this is a cylinder, and we will also create a sphere. Say this is the center of the sphere. So in sphere we have two way of creating a sphere. One is, this is a complete sphere with a diameter of 40, radius is 20, or we can simply have like a part of the sphere which is like this, and then we can create desired sphere using these controls. We can also increase this, or we can also do this. Okay, so yeah, we have created it. Now we were talking about this command, circle, sphere and ellipse. So we simply choose the edge of the cylinder, and the moment we click OK, we get this point. You can see we have this point here, uh, and also we can use a sphere. So we already have a point, let's hide it. So the moment we choose this spherical surface, it will generate a point here. Okay, we click OK, and this is the freshly generated point. You don't need it as of now because there is already a point and I don't want it to overlap. Okay, next we have is tangent to curve. Now again we will take this curve, and now it is asking for a direction. Say we give this direction. So along this direction there are these two possible tangents, and it will create these 2 points. Let's click OK. Now this is a window that you will see many times while working in Catia. It is because the operation that you are performing, it is having more than one outputs. So it will ask like, what do you want to do? You want to keep only one element by selecting near and far. So suppose if I select this option, I click OK and I select this option, it will keep this point only. And that is how near and far works. So let's try it out. We click OK. Now it is asking for a reference element. I select this, so it is going to keep this one, and it is going to remove the other point. So let's try that command again. This time we will try some other option. Tangent to curve, this one, and along this direction. So we click OK, and we already used this element near and far. Next we have is by using extract command. So I click OK, and the moment I click OK, the extract command is open, and here I can select which one of them I want, and I can click OK, and only that option will remain with us. Okay. Now there is one last option when we are having multiple options. When there are multiple outputs, we have this last option which says that keep all sub elements. So if I choose this, it will create 2 points. It will keep all the outputs. It is like that. Okay. Next is between. So between is like very simple. You just need 2 points, and it will create a new point at the center of those 2 points. So let's say I select this point and I select this point. It is going to create a point at the center, but here also I can control the ratio. I mean, there is no curve, but I can control the ratio. So wherever I want this point, I can keep it. You can see this point here, it is moving when I'm playing with the ratio. And if I click midpoint, so it will create the exact midpoint of these two, point 1 and point 2. Okay, so this was all about the uh, points. Then we have this one which says points and plane repetition. So we say like first point. Okay, I'll just hide these 3 points to avoid confusion. And this one too, I'll hide it. Okay, so it is asking for a first point. Say I choose, okay, I actually need to create a point. Or what we can do is we can choose one point from here. Let's say, see, this is the problem now. Here it is selecting both the points because we choose all sub elements. Let's we keep this point and try using this command. So I will select a point and I'll select a curve, this one, which it has selected by default. Now we have like instances and spacing. Let's try both the options. Suppose I want, say, 5 instances and I click preview. So it has created 5 points, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I can also do it on the reverse direction. Click preview. So you see that it is using the entire length of the curve because it says instances. So whatever the length we have from here to here, it is dividing it into a spacing such that we can have 5 points. Next is instance and spacing. So in this, let's say we have 5 points and we want to give instance of 5 millimeters between every point. We click preview. So it behaves like this. So there are 5 points and every other point is 5 millimeters away. Okay, sometimes this is useful when when we have to place some features or we have to do some copy operation or we have to do some parameter custom uh, pattern or something like that. Okay, I can click turn on this option. What it will going to do is it will also create planes. These planes are going to be normal to this curve. For every plane, the direction of that plane is going to be this curve, and the position will be defined by the points. So say I change it to 30 and I click preview. So wherever the points are, it is also going to create some planes, and we can click OK. So you can see this is what we got. We will leave these two commands as of now. We'll start with lines. Okay. So there are so many ways of creating a line. So let's go with point to point. It is very simple. Suppose I have one point here and the other point here. I just click on those 2 points and it will create a line. I can play with the length. I can only increase it. I cannot reduce the length. So this is point to point method. Next we have point and direction. So suppose we choose this point here and we give some direction to it, say X direction. So it will create a line in X direction. We can, place it anywhere we want, but it will be through this point and along X direction. We can also switch directions, say we want it in Z direction. So now it is in Z direction. Next, we will have angle normal to curve. So let's select this curve and it is asking for a support plane. Uh, we can choose, say, this plane. Okay, so the curve is not lying on that plane. So we need to choose a plane on which this curve is created. So this curve, it is created on this plane. This is uh, ZY plane. So we select that plane, and this curve, it is going to be, the direction of this curve. It can be anywhere, but it is going to be on this plane only, but it is the direction of this curve will be zero if we see in x direction. So here we can play with the angles. Okay, we can play with the length. We can play with the length, and we can also play with the angle. So we can create this curve anywhere uh, with the support plane considering this YZ plane. Okay, so this is angle normal to curve. The next command in line definition, we have normal to surface. So here we need a surface and we need a point. So let's first create a point. We need a point on surface. So let's say we create a point here. We create another point, say here. And now we use this command normal to surface. Select the surface and we select this point and we give some length to it. We click OK and we create one more just for the sake of example. Now you see that these two curves, they are not in the same direction, though they are on the same surface. So the reason being, this line, it is normal to this surface at this point, and this line is normal to this surface at this point, because there is a curvature on the surface. So their direction will be different at different location. Next, in line definition, we have bisecting lines. So it is very simple. We select two lines. Yeah, it has selected two lines, and we need to give a point where we want this line. Say we want it here. So this is a bisecting line of uh, these two lines. Basically, what is happening here? It is giving us a bisecting direction. So this line, it is having one direction, this is having another direction, and this line, it is giving a direction which is, uh, a center direction of these two directions. So this is what the bisecting line is. So here it is giving us two results. So this is the first result and this is the other result. So let me explain like why it is showing this result as well. So it is like, okay, first we just finish it, okay, and we take help of a sketch, click OK. So here also in this we have bisecting lines. So suppose say these are the two lines. So it has two possible values, like two possible directions. So a bisecting line can be here in this direction, and a bisecting line can also be here in this direction. So these two are the possible values. In sketch workbench also we have this command which is here. It is called bisecting lines. You just select these two lines, it gave us this line, and let's see if it is going to create one more line if we choose like this. Yes, okay. So these are the two possible ways. Let's just delete it. Okay, so yeah, we have completed point, we have completed line. Next we have planes. First one is like a offset plane. So it's like simple. We select some plane and we provide some distance, say 100, and we have a plane parallel to the reference plane, which is this one, and it is 100 millimeters apart. Okay. Next, we have parallel through points. So it is like, suppose I want this plane, but I want it to be, say, here along this point. So I select this point, and it will create a parallel plane to this reference plane at that particular point. Next, in we have normal angle to plane. So here we need to consider axis of rotation first. So say we choose this line as our axis of rotation, and we choose a reference plane. So because this is this line, and we have to choose something like this plane, and now this plane, it is on this line, and we can actually move it because it is a plane, and we can move it into any 2D dimensions, and we can give some angle to it. Okay, so this plane here, it can have any angle that we want. Okay, so it is like this, angle normal to plane. Next, let's see what we have through 3 points. So if we have any 3 points, we can those 3 points should not be in a same line. That is the catch here. So we can choose any 3 points, and it will create a plane, and those 3 points will be lying on that plane. So that is through 3 points. Next is through two guides. So it needs two curves, and it will create a plane such that those two lines will be, lying on that plane. So it has created this plane. Next, in planes we have through point and line. Okay, let's just clear some of the junk here, because uh, especially these. Okay, so there are too many points, lines, and it doesn't looks good. Okay, so next we have is through point and line. Okay, so in this case we need one point and we need one line. So say I create a line. Point and direction. This point, direction is, say, this one. Okay, the command is through point and line. So okay, so this is one point we can choose, and then we can choose this line. So in this case, what will happen is this point that we have selected and this line, they will lie on the same plane, which is this one. Okay, next in planes we have through planar curve. I never use that command. Then we have normal to curve. Okay, so this one is simple, like earlier how we were creating planes through this curve using a pattern. So we simply select a curve, and it is going to create a plane. By default it is creating a plane in the middle, but we can have some point, and we can choose that point, and the plane will move to that point. Okay, after normal to curve we have tangent to surface. Mean through points equation we never used. Tangent to surface, I don't know. We have never used tangent to surface also. By far, these commands are enough to to get plane in any trajectory. Okay, so we are done with the wireframe. We are done with the first three basic commands, which is point, line, and plane in this command palette wireframe. Next, we will see the next three commands in next video.